Hey BEARWEIGHT Nation, hope you guys are all doing fantastic today. So I just want to talk about the topic of consumption. What are you eating? How are you eating? Where are you eating it? So I saw a comment recently in one of my videos. Someone brought up, what do I eat? When do I notice that I don't get fatigued? Things like that. Because a lot of times as you're training, and especially when you put on some serious size, I just got up to 275. I've kind of been putting on some size lately just because I'm focused on heavier lifts and things like that. I'm getting back into more explosive workouts. I've been doing the slow control, so now I can put on to the next stage of getting through those big, heavier weights. So what do I consume? Let's kind of talk about my experience from the last 2 decades, where I started, where I'm at now, compared to, compare those kind of two, before and afters. In the beginning, I was starting with chicken, because this is before I started training, before YouTube was really a big thing. It was kind of around, but it wasn't really well known. So I didn't really know where to look. So I kind of just started experimenting. And the biggest thing I found from bodybuilding magazines was protein shakes and chicken, chicken and rice. And so that's actually where I started. I literally got, I went to the store and I bought whey protein and bought a bunch of chicken and made it and cooked it and ate it, and that's all I did. And that's literally what I lived on, is chicken, rice, and here and there a couple fruits and vegetables, and broccoli and things like that. And for me, yeah, I got lean. That's great, but it was never truly satisfying. I never hit where I was really feeling strong, like really, really strong. And so kind of fast forwarding, I started doing tuna. Tuna was great. But the problem with tuna is, I started realizing, I started looking into it, was, you just have tons of microplastics and you have tons of mercury that's in tuna. Now it's not tons of it right there and then, but as you consume that, and if that's all you consume, as time goes on, that's going to build up toxins in your body. And the next thing you know, that can lead to other issues, or cancers, things like that, or just mental issues, mercury breaking down your system. So, it's kind of trying to find a balancing act, especially nowadays. And unfortunately, as us men, we have to deal with estrogen everywhere. It's in our, plastics have tons of, it creates if you look into any of this, basically it will create it's a chemical reaction in the plastics. It's a bipedal product, but it creates a estrogen. It's just a chemical estrogen. And so we touch it, we're eating it, and unfortunately, because of that, we're seeing men's testosterone, if I could talk, testosterone dropping dramatically, and it could lead to major problems in the future if we don't get this straightened out. And for me, I noticed that, that's why I talk about TRT. And if you want to know anything about that, just follow one of my other videos. I talk about it, once you hit 30s, you're feeling slower. And so what I noticed, and especially for me at 30s, I did feel slow, and I started noticing that. So that's why I considered TRT as an option. I knew I was always going to take the needle, but I wasn't sure how much I was going to do. And I do it for health reasons. I don't abuse this. I don't take advantage of it. I'm using it specifically for health reasons. And so, but at the same time, when I started doing that, and this is the other side to it, I started getting really hungry really fast. And it's because I was feeling like my old self. I was like, okay, I'm starting to put on that muscle again. But I want to kind of figure, this is when I started taking, I wanted to change everything. I wanted to figure out my system, because, at that point I was still kind of doing the chicken. I was doing the beef here and there. I was doing I completely pretty much dumped tuna out of my system. I like fish. I did the cod thing. Salmon's expensive. That's great food, great stuff. But I'm not a big fish person. I don't like fish a ton. I could do fish here and there, but it's not my favorite food. So I started looking around, and, I came down to, I was like, okay, I could do the eggs, but if I eat too many eggs, my problem is cholesterol spikes and my head hurts, and that's what I noticed. If I eat more than 4 eggs, it feels like my head's going to pop off. So I noticed that my body just did not like eggs very well. Milk, I can do milk, but once again, I start noticing my body just doesn't run really good on it, and I do milk periodically, but it's not something I consume all the time. And so I started looking around, and so my biggest focus was when I watched a video actually from Jay Cutler. He was talking about beef, beef, and that's what he consumed. So I just went straight on beef, and that's what changed everything for me. I consume, pretty much, I'd say close to a pound of beef a day, either ground or, and not this, let me kind of reframe this, beef or pork. Those are the two major ones that I consume actually on a regular basis. I find that beef works better for me because I don't get those mental fatigues, and I usually eat 3 times a day. So I kind of break it up or 3 to 4 times a day, sorry, that I break it up over that period of the day. because I find that if you eat really big and just kind of do the fasting thing, it never works for me because I get those highs and real low lows. But I'm trying to prevent the mental fatigue, especially as you're bigger. Your body's going to consume a ton of fuel. I'm sitting about 275 because of that. I've gotten pretty big, and so I've noticed that I need to eat a lot more often. And I start getting, if I don't eat, I get the yo-yo effect where it's kind of like I just feel like I don't want to do anything at all. I get that depression effect, and it's not a really good feeling to have. So you got to really be prepared. You got to be preventative of that. You got to be like maintenance. You got to think ahead of time, especially as you get bigger. Especially these big bodybuilders, man. Their lifestyle is literally just consume, work out, and that's literally it. They're like a grazing cow that works out all the time, and that's all they do. And you have to have a lifestyle where that's all you do if that's your profession, to maintain like that. Now, unless you're a genetic freak, then good for you, God bless you. But I was never that genetic freak per se. Now I don't know where I'd be at if I did, but as TRT works for me, I'm a pretty big guy and it works great for me. So, but kind of coming back to that, the idea is, the biggest thing for me is finding fats, and that's what a lot of people don't stop to think about, is they don't get enough fats in their system, and that's why they have those big crashes, or they don't seem to lose enough weight or put on muscle. For me, that's what I needed. Beef just seems to, I don't know what it is for genetically. And I got this little video up, I pulled up off the line, you've probably seen it before, but just kind of showing different protein levels and what that has an effect of you. And in terms of like per 100 grams of, per 100 grams of that item, how much protein you get out, and beef is one of the higher ones. Now, ground beef, you're going to get a mixed bag. So if you do ground beef, for me, I had a good deal yesterday. I did 10 pounds of 73% lean ground beef, and I don't think it was grass fed, if I remember right. It was, and then of course I got a couple steaks. I bought a bunch of pork. So pork and beef just seem to run my system really good. And, pork, they say, I have a lot of, get a lot of that poisoning from it, from pork, because it has toxins, but I've never really noticed those issues, at least in my system for myself. But it's not going to say that's going to work for me. It's going to work for you. But hopefully this kind of opens your eyes, because like I said, the biggest thing, guys, try different things, try to experiment with yourself, figure out what works best for you. For me, when I started doing that, it was just lights on, man. I was putting on size like no other. Now, I've gotten pretty big. I'm stronger. I'm mainly one of the stronger guys at the gym I go to. I'm not gonna say I'm the strongest. I'm never gonna be a world-class record breaker. I don't plan to. But I have the genetic. If I push myself, I could probably get up to that level, close to that level. But I don't plan to, because I don't want to risk my health for it. I want to focus on a balance of health and health and lifestyle and things like that. That's kind of where my focus is. I like being strong, but I don't want to be so gassed out, because my blood's my blood pressure's through the roof, my blood's thick, things like that. And you can go check out my other video, and you can see some of my blood work. Just kind of give me an idea what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to achieve in the long term. But, like I was saying, guys, and then when it comes to like junk food, I try to avoid junk food. The biggest thing for me is what I consume when it comes to junk food. Ice cream. It's going to be, excuse me, I drink a little water. It's going to be ice cream. And then, of course, I do a lot of Tootsie Pops, like suckers and stuff for, my sugar drops. And I need a quick pickup. Because that's one thing you're going to notice if you're putting a lot of muscle mass, is you're going to burn through your sugar. Your body just burns. It's always going. So what you're going to notice, you're just going to plow through anything that's in your system. At least for me, I'm always hungry. Always feels like I'm hungry. So, and it's not because I'm just like mentally like I got to eat. It's just I just sit around and I just kind of wait, and my body just tells me I just need to eat. Because then if I don't, then I get these crashes, these moments where I just kind of dip down. So that's why it's always I got to be ahead of my schedule in terms of eating, because that will affect it'll ruin my entire workout. If I don't consume, especially before I go to workout, or I don't properly consume the day before I go to train, I lose a mind-body connection. Because I lose that mind-body connection, I can't train as hard. My body just does not want me to train. It literally would just shut down. It would just feel like I just drag myself into the gym for no reason. That's essentially what happens to me when I start getting in the gym and I start training. That's the worst kind of feeling. Nothing worse than dragging your butt to the gym, take a pre-workout. You did all this time. You woke up early just to get in there, just to do nothing, or feel like you're doing nothing. Your strength's shot because you weren't eating enough. But kind of getting back on topic, let's talk about this. So, sorry guys, my throat's been a little itchy today. Talk about pork chops. That's 17.5 grams per 100 grams. So that's quite a bit. It's not like a ton, but like I said, I eat quite a bit of protein, pork myself. So like today, I just had a bunch of pork. I probably had at least half a pound of pork, and then I had another half a pound of beef today. So I usually probably get close to, I'd say, I'm a 275. They always say a gram of protein per pound of body weight, if I can talk. But for me, I probably get around 2 to 250. I don't always hit that 275. And it seems to work fine for me. I still put on muscle mass. Like I said, sorry guys. Like I said, my biggest thing for me is I'm actually relatively easy to put on mass. It's super easy. It's hard for me to lean though. That's where I struggle. It's not very easy for me to lean. I have to put a lot of effort into it, a lot of work. And even then, I still have never been able to get that six pack. And I mean, I was training 6 days a week, lifting, running. I was in 130 degrees in Missouri at 100% humidity, so I was sweating all the time. And I still never could get that six pack. And I tried like no other. So, like I said, that was something I really, really worked hard for, but I never could hit that. And that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. It didn't upset me at all. It is what it is. But kind of coming back to it, chicken, 20.5 grams per 100 grams. Not too bad. But like I said, it's not amazing, or it's pretty, not the greatest, but it does the job. It's lean. That's the thing. If you want to cut, that's a great way. But once again, for me, it didn't work. Just never hit that goal. So, and of course, beans, if you want to do the beans, almonds, that's great. I don't really do that kind of protein. It just doesn't seem to work for me. Just too, I've tried it. I've tried that. Fish, tuna, 23 grams per 100. Like I said, it's got a lot of mercury. And then, of course, mutton. I think that's lamb, I think, if I'm right about that. And, peanuts. I do a lot of peanut butter, specifically in the morning. I usually do it on my protein bar. I just have protein bar per day. Nothing crazy. I just do protein bars. I don't do the big shakes and stuff like that. I just find they clog your system up. I did that for a long time. Just never really truly worked for me. And then, beef. Beef is my biggest thing. That's what I talk about. That'll get me, that gets me everything I need. A lot of people say red meat's real bad for you, but I think that we're starting to find that that's not the truth, because we, a lot of, at least European genetics, beef and lamb, that's a big one. So, like I said, guys, I mean, hopefully it helps you guys. I've been kind of ranting a little bit longer than I planned to. But if you guys have any questions, hit me up. Like I said, the biggest thing is just trying to prevent yourself from mentally crashing. And and the way that I find to do that is you just got to eat consistently, and you got to kind of experiment to see what works for you. What works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. So give it a shot, guys. Hopefully that helps. Don't be afraid to try it. And BEARWEIGHT Nation out. Catch you on the next video.